violators, right? Indeed. But that's how we do it. You know how it goes down each and every Sunday. Deep in the Crates, Sunday School, 12 to 3, DITC, independently on your 91.3 radio station, broadcasting live. School of Higher Learning, straight here from beautiful Vassar College, Poughkeepsie. Stand up. Hope you all enjoying the day with a brother. We just blessing you on this Sunday afternoon. Deep in the Crates. But this is how we do it for you and yours each and every Sunday. Your man will be at Quinn's next Friday as well. So I need all y'all to come out, show a brother some love. You know how we do it each and every time. Quinn's in Beacon. Diggin in the Crates Radio Roadshow. Gonna try and take this call real quick. Hold tight. Brother's gonna try and check this real quick. VKR, hello.
Hello, how are you?
There it is. Beautiful. I'm so glad I was able to get the soundboard going correctly. Good afternoon, and please introduce yourself to my listening audience.
Well, hi everybody. My name is Sue in the House Fisher, and I was the first engineer for De La Soul way back in 1989.
Yeah, and I was doing some researching, and if y'all check the video in the song, the very end of Potholes in the Lawn, I think it's the very last thing, they say Susan in the house. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is a beautiful thing.
I know, they do. They say Sue in the house, and it was so funny, it was just kind of out of the blue. So I played that for my students the other day, and they thought it was the most hilarious thing they'd ever heard.
Yeah, no, that's pretty impressive. Now, so when did you start in the field of music engineering?
Well, I went to college for music at SUNY Fredonia. And when I got there, I said, okay, so what kind of majors do you have? I didn't even know anything about it. And they told me about music engineering. And I said, oh, what's that? So they took me to this studio, and I got to play around with the faders and the soundboard. And I said, I really think I like this. So I ended up applying, and 350 people applied for this program back in 1981, and only 35 got in. And only 3 females got in, and the other 2 quit. So there I was by myself. But when I graduated, I started, interning and stuff in New York City, and eventually the internships turned into jobs. As they will, kids. Hang in there. They will. So, I worked at this studio called Calliope.
I've heard of.
And, yeah.
So that's impressive. That's impressive alone, saying to come out of school and working in Calliope.
Well, it was a few years later. I think I was 25 or 26 when I recorded De La Soul. So I had been working for a while.
Okay. Now, what kind of music were you engineering? Just anything that came through that studio at that time?
Yeah, that's how it works. Right. You record everybody. And I don't know, for some reason they thought that De La Soul would really like me. Maybe because I was young and they were young.
Yep.
They liked my work a lot. They said, oh, whenever we walk in the room, it sounds beautiful. I'm like, oh, thank you. So they said, we have this brand new client. They're just doing this. They're doing their first EP, so they didn't really think that De La Soul, they weren't famous or anything when they came in there.
Yep.
That's why they would give them to a young engineer, So,
they were
I got the job.
They were sleeping on De La Soul. They weren't really thinking that they were going to push, because they were kind of really, really different, as well as the hip-hop that was coming out. But like I was reiterating earlier, they embodied so many different, genres of music on that first album, from rock to folk to soul to hip-hop. It was way ahead of its time for, corporate to really, think that it was going to do much.
Absolutely. And the record label was Tommy Boy.
Yep.
So they felt like they had a certain image, and De La Soul was just out of left field.
Yeah.
But in such a great way.
Absolutely.
You know, it was really amazing the amount of genres that were on that record.
Yeah, and like it's funny because just for like De La being on Tommy Boy made me like know the name Tommy Boy and be like, oh, De La's on Tommy Boy. They're such a great group. But to know behind the scenes that they had been having struggles. But before we go to that route, I kind of want to know a little bit more about the history. So what was your take on them first working with them and them really being new in the business to what they are today? Like what was your feeling of them working with them?
Well, I liked them immediately, and they liked me too. So we always had a good time in the studio. It was just constant laughing and a lot of creativity. Like one of the tracks on Ghetto Thing is actually somebody jingling change in their pocket. So we would just go for anything. Like I was up for it all. And I can remember walking down 42nd Street, walking on my way to work from the subway, and looking up at that big, tall, white building that kind of curves.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, wow, I'm at the top of my game. This is the best thing ever. I'm making $15 an hour, and I'm recording De La Soul, and there's so much fun in the studio. I remember that thought, like that moment, you know. It was just always very positive.
Yeah.
When you're an engineer, there's like, you get into sessions where the people are arguing with each other or whatever. People can bring negativity into the studio, but De La Soul never did. Never.
Yeah, and you know, I had friends who, you know, got me into wanting to be into the game, and yeah, that camaraderie, that creativity, you know, for them to have a vision that was so different. Like I said, in their videos, you would see, you know, they were teased and mocked in the game of being like hippies and different, so they were not deemed from the culture. Like if you didn't look a certain way, you were not in the culture. But far from it, that, you know, they extremely were from the culture, and to be so different and not care what the masses saw and see where they are today, that's mind-blowing to me. But yeah, I instantly gravitated towards them because of course I like hip-hop, but when you see or feel that energy through the music of, wow, it's good to finally hear something like fun, happy, like peaceful, daisies, like thank you.
Yeah, also with a sense of humor. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, everybody loves funny music,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, a lot of it isn't, you know. I mean, people get into sad songs or whatever.
Yep.
But with De La Soul, they could take on a very serious subject, but also through their music and their words, their lyrics, their rhyming, you know, make it in an interesting, fun way to listen to, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing I was so when you engineered that whole entire album, every song, or certain songs, or that whole album?
The whole album, except for the little, you know, where they're speaking French in the middle?
Yes,
like there's
yeah.
those little cuts.
Yep.
I didn't do those little cuts. Those were added in the mixing sessions, which were done elsewhere.
Okay.
But I did everything from the ground up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That, like I said, I don't care. That's a staple on the resume, like you said. Some things, and to be at your peak and youth of, it must have been an incredible journey, and tend to see, like you said, where they've continued to go. It's remarkable. But let's speak a little bit, like that is so disheartening for what they had gone through with Tommy Boy, to have their library.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Yeah, and I guess record labels are about the money, and you know, there can be some people working for record labels that are not really about the music or the musicians. You know, it's almost like it's a job, and they want to make the most profit they possibly can. And there was some, you know, I guess some bad feelings surrounding that whole thing. But thank goodness, after all these years, it's finally getting out there, and it's so unbelievable that Dave,
is awful.
he's been wanting this. He's been wanting this for so long.
Yeah, the timing
You know?
is so bad. But, you know, at the same time, when all that stuff was going down, like, I understand, you know, I'm different than the average fan. I understand the labels, I understand the business. You know, it is pretty dirty. Like, you know, like even Trop says, do you want to be in the business? You know, the ups and downs. So it is rough. But to see what De La had built for Tommy Boy, in my opinion, like, how did you not give them the grace of, like, thank you for, like, maybe they didn't generate, like, billions and billions of dollars, but, like, they are, like, a staple in the culture, and how do you, like, dishonor them by, yeah, we're gonna hold your stuff ransom like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, I remember there was one session where, like, they were goofing around, and they recorded some stuff like Prince Paul has dandruff, Pasta News has dandruff,
yeah.
You know, and they said Sue Fisher has dandruff, and everyone was laughing. And the Tommy Boy guy was there, and he was like, oh, I don't want her name on it. I want you to say that I have dandruff.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, you could say
like,
he has
who are you?
dandruff.
Who are you? They don't, you know, they don't even like you. You're just like, you know, a majority owner or something. You have no creative juices to, like, get out of here, man. You're not even supporting.
Well, yeah.
They're not even really supporting they're not even really supporting De La in the fullest anyway. So why would you think you're gonna get credit?
Well, he did. He's on the record. His name's on the record. But it's you know, I don't mind. I don't want people to say that I have dandruff, so it's okay.
So do you also do you have any stories that you think that you can remember that stand out to you in memory of Trugoy?
Well, I just want to say that he was the most peaceful and nice person that you would ever want to meet, honestly. And he always had this amazing fashion sense. And back then, there was no such thing as asymmetrical hair until they came along. So, like, yeah. I don't know how that happened, but they pioneered this style, you know. But he,
yeah,
I mean, it was before they were famous, but he never was like sometimes people in the studio that are almost famous or they know they might go someplace, sometimes those are the hardest people to work with because they just want it so bad and they're so needy, you know. But De La Soul, none of them were ever like that, you know. And Dave especially, like, just such a sweetheart.
So I got a quick story for where we depart. So when I was just getting out of high school, a friend of mine wanted to go to Florida. I didn't have any money, and he was like, "No, I'll pay. You can go out with me. We'll go out and hang out." And so, you know, I went out there, went for the ride and hanging out. It wasn't really much. I think we might have even been in St. Petersburg or something. But all of a sudden, we're playing the radio in Florida, and I hear the announcer saying, like, in the town over, De La Soul was going to be performing at a club.
Did you go?
Had to switch up the music real quick. But yeah, so we were like, if anything, we're going to go to this concert. So that was the only thing. We went over there. Everybody's hanging out inside, and, like, we're just hanging out. Now, I had to be, like, about 22 maybe. And we're sitting outside. The show hasn't even started yet. And, like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I see, like, a taxi pull up, and then I see another taxi pull up, and all of a sudden, stepping out the car, there's Pasta News, and I'm like, oh shoot, and I'm like losing it, and then all of a sudden, next one comes up, there's Trugoy, and then May steps out, and I'm like, oh man, I was like, my God, I can't believe it. I was like, yo, we're from New York, like, he's like, y'all came down here to see us here. I was like, nah, we happened to be in the next town over and heard that you guys were performing, and we were definitely coming to see you guys. And you know, they chilled and talked with us, gave me an autograph, but that was, you know, like 92 maybe. What was it, like De La Soul is dead? I don't know if it was the Balloon Mind State or anything like that, but it was just an honor, like, to meet them at a young age and stuff like that. But you know, I seen them later, and their stage show, how they keep it professional. They're not just boring. They bring so much to the performance of it, and you know, that's why they are, like, probably one of my top 2 groups of all time.
Wow, they're icons. They really are.
And you're an icon.
No, I'm not.
Sue in the house. Sue in the house. No, but you know, and it was such a blessing. I love doing my show, and you know, I don't always see who hears me or able to check in, but to get like, you know, a message later that day from you saying that you what you had been incorporated with and that you had tuned into my show and you wanted to come on, that alone was like humbling to me to know, you know, you're right in our backyard and you were able to bring this to my listeners.
I love your show. I love it. Whenever I'm driving around on Sunday, I'm like, where is it? Okay, it's 12 to 3. Everybody's got to tune in. I mean, it just sort of brings you back to that moment in time, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really appreciate love like that. But yeah, that's what my show really tries to embody, like the love, the energy, just the good vibes, not something that you hear on the regular, but coming from that era. It should be all things good music, and but it's hip-hop all the way. But again, I appreciate you, Susan, so much for today's time.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And we will have to keep in contact, and we'll have to correspond once again.
Okay. All right. You take care. You have a lovely day.
Also, and do you have any shout-out? You want to shout out your kids at school? You got some friends and family?
Yeah, I'll shout out Beacon High School. Okay. Beacon High School students. Yay. Thank you. I love going to see you and teaching music every day, and my family, and Christopher, and my daughters Audrey and Natalie. And hi, Pasta News. Hi, Mace. I miss you guys. Hope you're okay.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your afterday, and thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, that worked out like clockwork. Smooth. I appreciate it. Sue in the house. That's why I had to come back. You saw we were already in De La Soul is Dead, the album, going through the catalogs. We'll mash them up a little bit later. But, yeah, I had to check it in the video of Potholes in My Lawn. You'll see at the very end. Sue in the house. Sue in the house. She was definitely in the building. Appreciate it. You know how we do each and every Sunday. 12 to 3, DITC, independently on your 91.3 radio station. Speaking of Beacon, don't forget your man will be in Beacon next Friday. It's usually a Saturday. Going forward, it will be the last Friday of every month. Digging in the Crates Radio Roadshow live from Queens in Beacon. Come through, check it out. We still celebrating my birthday.